Release the world engine. You mean Google? I think I'm crazy, but I've never watched Man of Steel. I think I've seen one cornfield clip or something at the end, but that's it. Okay, so I'm gonna be recapping Man of Steel as someone who's watching it for the first time because I've never seen this movie. So the movie begins as some movies begin with a prologue. We see Krypton and we're met by this character Jor-El, and he's played by Russell Crowe and his wife Laura. Cute fashion pieces. It's very Gallifrey from Doctor Who. So there's this coup d'etat, French. I guess as General Zod is this character. He's trying to take over this planet. I guess that's what we gather, and he wants this thing called the Codex. And the Codex, well, what's the Codex, you ask? Well, the Codex is it allows these aliens, Kryptonians, to live because their current planet is being sucked into a massive black hole, okay? It's dark in there and it's getting sucked good, okay? Anyway, Zod wants the Codex, and then Jor-El, get this, Jor-El puts the Codex inside of his son, his biological son. And this is unusual because well, firstly, you don't just put codexes in children, but also because is biological. You see, Kryptonians don't really reproduce. They don't do the nasty, okay? They don't get down, okay? They don't do that all that. They reproduce artificially. A hidden blade. I am the blade of hidden. Anyway, get this. Jor-El dies, okay? He dies because he's killed by Zod, but Zod doesn't get away scot-free, okay? He's later banished to the Phantom Zone for his actions, okay? That's such the Phantom Zone. It's so edgy and emo, okay? Anyway, that's why he gets banished, and that's sort of all you need to know about the prologue, because they don't really get into too much of the nitty-gritty right now. Anyway, so after Jor-El puts the Codex inside of his son, he also ships him off far away so Zod can't get him, because Zod's after him. He wants the Codex and it's inside of his son, so he wants his son, Jor-El's son. So Jor-El sends his son in this weird shuttle ship thing across the universe or something, so Zod can't catch him, and then Zod gets sentenced by their other Kryptonians or something to the Phantom Zone. I can't seem to shake the thought of Dwight every time I look at Zod, and it remains unexplainable. Also, the shape of those pods, excuse me, is literally sending me. What the fuck? Then we kind of skip to this young adult Kal-El. That's Kal-El's Jor-El's son, or well, that's his whatever, Clark Kent, basically. Shirtless Henry Cavill, but it's only 20 minutes in. Go. They know how to keep you attentive. And then the next bit is just giving his detail on his upbringing as such, and how difficult he finds it growing up in this Earth environment, because he's an alien child, okay? Not in the immigrant sense, but he's an alien, you know? And he doesn't really have much direction in life, you know? He's trying to find his sense of self. And we get more backstory, so it skips to him in his 20s, but then we get recaps in his young junior years or whatever. And he originally when he got onto the planet, when he arrived, when he landed onto his fucking planet with his rocket ship or whatever, he gets adopted by Jonathan and Martha Kent, who basically name him Clark Kent, and that's the whole Clark Kent shebang thing, okay? So throughout his 20s is just searching and doing different jobs, and all these jobs are side quests, because he's also picking up these or helping these random people during these jobs. Okay, I didn't expect him to do that to his drink. That's actually really funny, but he also should just give it a little slap, you know? Nothing more satisfying than direct violence in the face of adversity. And there's this one scene where he's in his junior year, and the school bus he's in drowns or whatever, he gets knocked off the highway or whatever, and then he basically gets out and saves them from drowning, which is cool. And during this time we also discover his dad Jonathan dies in a tornado, and they be bickering back and forth a lot of the time, and then Jonathan doesn't let Clark save him because he has this whole thing about Clark using his powers and people seeing and finding out, and that was a massive thing for them. So they both Clark and Martha just watched Jonathan die in a tornado, which is crazy actually. You know, I'd have thought if he got super emotional when his father died, his powers would just accidentally turn on or off like a reaction. I think his like that earring just really adds to his character as like the boss of the Daily Planet. Anyway, we skip a bit later and then we end up in the North Pole somehow, and then Clark finds like this Kryptonian ship in the Arctic, and this is where he meets his dad for the first time. Yes, he meets him. He did die, but like basically Jor-El like sort of uploads himself into the mainframe. I think it was like almost like the House of Elves, like sort of like an earthly outpost in a way or something. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, Jor-El's like the mainframe to this computer, and he starts telling Kal-El about everything. He's like a very sentient, almost near sentient, right? So he's telling Kal-El everything and everything about Krypton and what happened to him. And this is also when Clark finally gets the Superman suit. The iconic one, yes. The iconic one, okay. Wait, so they all wear these emo desaturated colors, but how come like they made a suit that's like super colorful for Kal-El? Like the fashion isn't consistency, okay? Also, this is where he begins to fly. So after finding the Kryptonian ship, he gets a suit and he goes out for a little flight simulator thing. But the thing is, right, what I don't get is why he couldn't fly all along. Is it maybe because of the suit? I didn't really understand that. I'm going to assume it's because of the suit, because he's in his mid-20s. You're telling me he didn't accidentally once in his entire childhood just accidentally, like, jump up a bit and then, like, he just start flying? Like, question mark, question mark, question mark. He has nice nails for someone who just shot through a mountain. Anyway, it turns out he's not the only one at the Kryptonian ship. Lois Lane is also there, and she is a reporter from the Daily Planet, okay? She's also exploring the ship because she's a nosy little bitch, and because, like, she basically gets injured because of this, like, from this weird-ass, like, you know, one of those, like, Japanese, like, sort of waiters at, like, the sushi, like, the robotic ones. It looks like that, but it basically attacks her, and then Clark just, like, sort of rips it apart, and then he, like, so she's, like, wounded, and she's on the floor, and then he, like, decides to help her, and then he basically, like, cauterizes her wound with his fucking laser, which is cool as shit, actually. And then she promises to keep his identity a secret as like a thanks, almost. Anyway, you remember Zod from earlier in the prologue? Well, it's not long after this that General Zod, which sounds like the most fuck-ass name ever, Zod. Yeah, so basically it's not long after General Zod and his minions escape the Phantom Zone. The Edge Zone, okay. The Edge Zone, stop. Anyway, he was then banished, and he escapes the Phantom Zone that he was like banished to, and he promises to find fucking Kal-El, and he tracks him to Earth, and that was a promise, not a threat. Or a threat, no. Wait, what did he say? And that was a promise. Oh yeah, and that was a promise, not a threat. Okay. Anyway, sidetrack. So Zod gives Earth an ultimatum, and I love the word ultimatum, and I don't even know if I'm using it right here, to either return Clark or he will absolutely destroy Earth and leave it in the shitter. And it's just like, what is with these aliens? Why are you so aggressive? Like, just chill, okay? Chill. Daddy, chill. Anyway, so Earth decides to hand over Clark. Well, there isn't like this unity in Earth saying, okay, we all agree, and they didn't have like this massive international vote, but like Clark just basically gives himself up to Zod. Governing him is so funny, like the way he just like read them all, like not for filth, but like just read them. But turns out evil alien overlord doesn't want to secretly leave Earth. In fact, no, he wants to commit mass genocide, and not only that, he wants to repopulate the Earth with Kryptonians. To make like a second Krypton on Earth, because if you remember earlier, their planet is fucked up in a hole, okay? Like, it is plugged in there. So anyway, Clark surrenders, but they also capture Lois, because for some reason they want Lois, and I couldn't understand why. So I was like, oh, whatever. And then Clark learns about Zod's plan, like how he wants to kill everyone, and he's on Zod's ship right now, like in orbit or whatever. Then Lois learns about the Phantom Zone and like how they were banished there with the help of uploading Jor-El to the ship. So basically she gets this little like USB stick, like a really fancy one, of Clark, who has it originally, and he passes it on to her sneakily on the ship, and then she uploads like the USB drive to the ship, and it sort of like downloads Jor-El, Clark's real father, to like the mainframe of the ship. I don't even know if the word mainframe is right, but I don't care. I really like the word mainframe. Okay, he's like uploading it to the mainframe. And then this like allows her to escape. Like, he'd just be like doing some all sorts of like fancy shit, and like he helping her out for real, and like he tells her where to shoot, almost like an aimbot. I love Russell Crowe's like worrisome but nonchalant at the same time acting. Let me tell you something about Miss Mama Lois, okay? Shooting photos ain't the only thing she's got going for her. Then Zod is, he's anguished because Superman also escapes from Zod's like clutches or whatever. Her knife doesn't seem very sharp, and he unleashes the world engine or whatever, and then like he like makes things go up and down in New York. So also the world engine is fucking ugly. How are you gonna invade a planet without the aesthetic? Superman teams up with the United States. He teams up with them and he like destroys the world engine. Okay, so it turns out like it wasn't New York. I don't know why this entire movie, like I know like little bits about Superman, but like it turns out it's Metropolis, not New York, as if the cop uniforms aren't literally New York, okay? And like as if the fucking buildings are literally not a representation of New York. That's why I thought it was New York. Lois has just been falling this entire movie. Anyway, not that it matters as much, but basically Zod fights with Superman, so they have this whole shebang and like things are going on in Metropolis. Things are being destroyed constantly, and then Zod fights with Superman at the end and everything's going crazy, okay? And then Zod and Superman fight out, and like there's this like final showdown where like he's got like Zod in like a headlock, and then like Zod's like just like shooting his lasers, and like these people are like, help, oh my god, help, and he basically snaps his neck, just going to kill those people. That was the only thing he could do. How does Lois still look so good after she just survived in like an apocalypse? That was Man of Steel. I know that was like such a quick recap, and it's like, well, what else is there to say? Like the plot is pretty straightforward. Like a boy grows up in an Earth environment, aliens come back to take the boy, you know, like. Anyway, the movie ends with them knowing about Superman, but they don't actually know his identity, and like he takes a job at the Daily Planet as a reporter. So yeah, anyway, ciao.
I just think he's kind of hot.